Hey, welcome to episode 12. So this episode is going to be the first episode that I'm going to be calling this van log from here on out. It's not really much of a podcast. It doesn't really have that feel to it. But it's more of a vlog kind of feel. But I thought vlog kind of sounded lame, so I'm going to go with van log from here on out. It's a little bit more accurate to what it is, I think. Not that it really matters too much, but it felt right to just sharpen that up a little bit. This episode's mainly going to be about my time in the city of Port Lavaca, Texas, and when I was getting the podcast off the ground and kind of what it took to get there and what was going on at the time. The city of Port Lavaca, there's nothing really too special about it or amazing. It's just kind of an old, small town with a chemical plant across the water. They got a Buc-ee's in town, which is probably my favorite part about it. That was a nice spot. Buc-ee's is by far the best gas station ever made by mankind. But the main thing that I was drawn to Port Lavaca for was because right outside of town they have Magnolia Beach, which is a spot you can camp right on the water, and a lot smaller than Padre Island where I had just been. But it was nice to get to be up close with people and get to know some more people that way. Because I did meet some people over there at the on Magnolia Beach. One night I was there, I just had dinner, and somebody was walking by. This lady stopped and she's like, "Hey, if you want to come over and have dinner with my husband and my mom and I, come on over." And I was like, just looking for an excuse. I was like, "Well, I just had dinner, so no, it's thank you." And she's like, "All right, no problem." And then she kept walking. Then on our way back, she said, "Hey, even if you don't want to come eat, just come over and drink a beer and hang out for a while." I was like, "All right, well, I can't give her an excuse this time. I actually got to head over there." And it was good. I'm glad that I did. You know, sometimes it takes you to sometimes I got to push you a little bit to get over there. For me, I'm not. It might seem like you can go out and just be outgoing and stuff, but that's really not my style. But I went over and it was a great time. I ended up meeting her mom Jan. It was super cool. We got along really well. She was kind of pushing, prodding, and I was able to answer whatever questions she had. And she ended up inviting me to hang out at her office the next day to sit down and have a good conversation. I went over and we talked for like 2 or 3 hours. And she was a real estate agent in the area, and we just talked about life and society and growing up and all this. And she grew up in the area, so she was showing me kind of some of the old pictures of the town. She showed me some of her old high school pictures of her on the dance team. It was pretty cool. And I remember at some point, I'm not exactly sure what led up to this, but at some point she was in tears, which seems to happen a lot when I get in conversation with older folks, especially older women. Somehow they always get brought to tears. But it was a beautiful, fun conversation. It was just nice meeting somebody from the area that was like kind and willing to share about their town. Also, she said, "Hey, if you want a job, if you're looking to stay in this area, I can find you work." She owned a couple properties in town and she was, looking for some work. But I was like, I appreciate it. If I ever come back, maybe I'll come and I'll get a hold of you. But at the time, I was looking to continue traveling. But it was nice, just having somebody in town that was friendly and knew the town well and could give you some information. Because one of the things she did say was the reason why Old Town was kind of dirt up and kind of dingier than it used to be from the pictures she was showing was because at some point years ago, they had put a highway that went through and then, once you build a highway, people are just kind of stopping at the Walmart or the Buc-ee's. They're not really going into Old Town anymore. So it just started to get less traffic downtown, and it started to wean off. So that was something that she got to be around and experience, kind of her town changing as she grew up. I spent a decent amount of time in Old Town. I would go, skate or longboarding down there, and I'd go and spend some time at the library and use their Wi-Fi. And I'd use the Wi-Fi because I was in the process, trying to figure out what I wanted this podcast to look like or this van log to look like. At the time, I was listening to podcasts all the time, and I still do listen to podcasts all the time. I mean, for years, me and my friends have been having conversations, seemingly deep conversations, and it just kind of seemed to fit with what I was interested in doing for a number of reasons. And I know at this point in time too, I needed I needed a plan, I needed a goal, I needed something to organize myself. It's kind of like I was talking in the last episode a little bit, like, you think that going on a trip like this, you have all this freedom and you have no plan. You can go wherever you want. You're going to have all this freedom and it's going to be amazing, which it's cool. But at the same time, it does kind of prompt this level of anxiety where it's like, what am I doing? Like, what am I going? What's my goal? And like, if you don't have any goals, it's like you kind of spin and you're kind of lost a little bit. So I knew that I needed to add some order and some structure to what I was doing and take on some responsibility on something. And so I set some goals and I made some plans with this, and it was kind of cool. Well, around this time too, I think what it really took me to get to the point that I was even able to this is something I'm going to do, was I had something I really don't want to hear when, something you really don't want to do when you're kind of bummed out is exercise. It's always the first thing to start off if you want to feel better. Start exercising. And I hate cardio. I hate doing cardio. But man, it helps so much. It's so useful actually after you do it. The clarity of mind that comes along with it. I was doing a lot of meditation at the time as well. Kind of what I was doing was I'd wake up in Magnolia Beach. I'd drive over to this spot in town, this park, and I would I'd plug in the van there, and then I would run around the pier for, I don't know, a couple miles, and I'd throw the kettlebell around, push-ups, sit-ups, whatever, just get sweating. And then they also had a shower there you could use. It was a real cold shower, but you just, at that point, that's part of the reason why I started getting more into meditation and Wim Hof, because I had this cold shower every morning. I got to figure out how to deal with this sort of thing. And his breathing technique is a really powerful tool, so that was something that I was using a lot at that time. With just exercise and meditation, was able to like kind of get me to this point that I just felt like confident enough and like ready to choose to do this thing. And also, as I'm like sorting out how I want it to look, it was really interesting. One of these days I was sitting at this park, and there's this guy that I met, but before I even get to him, I would stay at this park, which I didn't know that you were supposed to, like, that I didn't see the sign that you're actually supposed to be paying when you're staying at this place. I only camped out there for, I don't know, maybe a week max. But I would stay there overnight, and I'd plug into water and power, and I would just stay there and not pay anybody until eventually the police came over and told me, they were asking how long I was staying. I was like, just like a day or two. And they didn't make me pay or nothing, but I realized that actually is a spot you're supposed to be paying. But I just use it as free. I got a couple of days of free camping out there with power and water, which was nice. But at that spot, that's where they had the shower and all that. But anyway, one of these days I was outside cooking. I was doing my food prep, just cooking up a bunch of chicken for the week. And this guy randomly came up to me. He had no idea what I was doing, that I was in the process of kind of getting this podcast organized and trying to figure out what I wanted, van log organized, and figured out what I wanted it to be. And he came over and just started talking about his life. He was retired, but he was telling me that, I think his name was Mauricio. I think he was from Montana. I'm not exactly sure of those. It just seems like the letter M is attached to those memories for some reason. But he came over and started telling me about that he was in broadcasting for 30 years. He was a radio DJ for 30 years. And he was just talking about like the experience of it. And I didn't share anything about him with what I was going into, but he just randomly came over, and it's kind of seemed like the synchronicity kind of lining up. That was like, this guy telling me about like the difficulties of what he obviously he did it on a way higher level, and he's like broadcasting out to people. He was telling me like people would call in sometimes just to tell you how much they hate you. And he's like, that's something you just got to get used to. People are going to have their opinions, and you just got to let it not bother you. Just let it be the reality. So it was kind of a cool inspiration in that moment that he didn't even know who he was talking to at that point, and like the interest that I had. But yeah, it was like kind of an interesting person to run into at that time, I thought. And it was nice, like having at this point in time, just something to work on. I wanted to, before I started even sitting and recording, I wanted to get an intro made, and I wanted to get like cover art. So I went out and to the forest to record. I wanted some sounds from the forest, so I got up before the sunrise and went out and tried to get the birds in the trees in the morning. And I even got like this little fish jumping and like eating a bug off the surface of the water, and I got the sound of the van turning on and all that. And I put in so much time, and I took so many freaking photos to try to get the right cover art for it. I am going to put the intro that I made, I'm not going to be using it anymore. It says the word podcast in it, and I just don't like it. It's kind of cringy. And looking back on all the work that I've done is cringy. It's funny how that kind of works, but it's all part of the process. But I'm gonna add in the intro that I made one more time here, just because I want to point at it one last time, because it took so much time and so much effort for me to get these sounds, and you can't even really hear it in all the previous episodes. You can't even hear like the sound, so I'm gonna probably edit the audio so you can hear it, just because I want to point at it one last time, because there's so many hours, and I went all the way out to the forest to make this thing, and got up early in the morning to make it, so I'm gonna put it in here. Welcome to the Adventures of Andrew Briggs. My name is Andrew, and these are my adventures. This is a podcast about the places I go, the people I meet, the things I see, and some of the lessons I learn along the way. So hop in, and let's go. But the reality is, all you really have to do, once you have all that stuff done, is sit down and record, and by yourself. How difficult can that really be? But it is weird, because I'm better if there's like another person I'm talking to, like everybody. It's kind of weird to sit in a room by yourself, put a microphone in front of your face, and try to say something that's actually interesting or entertaining to anybody. And then all the thoughts start to go through your head of like, who do you think you are, thinking you're so important that anyone's going to listen, nobody really cares. Like, you're just going to embarrass yourself. Like, and the classic, you're not good enough, whatever. It's like this kind of stuff. It's like, that's all going through your head. And you got to find a way to like deal with that and overcome it and like confront it and not let that be the thing that controls you. Because in that reality, it's like, I'm just worried about the judgment from other people, and that's not really what I want this to be about. I don't want this to be about like, other people trying to confirm who I am or anything like that. I don't need that, and that shouldn't be the goal. So I'm just trying to understand my intentions and understand my purpose and try to keep that in mind as I record these. And I know one thing, like a simple thing about it, is I just wanted to record this because I want it to be a kind of a video journal of what I did over the time. But more importantly, it's like, I want to take the time to look back at these experiences and see if I can distill some sort of, information or lessons or wisdom out of these sort of things. Because everything's happening so fast at the time that I just want to like, see if I can take my time and break down and see what was actually happening, to understand myself a little bit more clearly. And also just the act of doing this, like sitting down, organizing a script, speaking, and trying to get my words in order. It'll help me become a better speaker. I want to get better at getting my ideas across and being more properly and well understood. So, and for myself and for others. So it's like these are the kind of things I was trying to keep in mind, rather than being about others. I suppose it's about like me trying to just become a better, stronger individual that can express himself more clearly. So that was like, that's the goal. That's like the intention that I'm trying to keep in mind. Like, this is the goal. Like, don't be worried that everyone's listening, because the reality, it's going to be like family and a couple friends listening anyways. Like, what are you worried about? But I don't know. These are thoughts that you deal with when you do something like this, But I think the act of like confrontation with it is choosing. Like, that's the process. Is like you look at the work that you like. For me, it's like I said, everything that I've put out so far, it's cringe. It's hard to listen to, but that's part of the process. Is you put it out, you listen to it, and it's so funny because when I first have the like the new something new recorded, and I'm ready to put it out, I'm like, oh, this is so good, and then as soon as I publish it, I'm like, this is trash. But like, that's, you just look at it and you understand, okay, this is what I've done and it's out. So I'm just going to choose to do, how would I do this better next time? It's not the most comfortable thing because you're just listening to yourself be an idiot or sound like an idiot. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the first episode of the podcast. This is right here. I gotta get the freaking intro right still. What does the intro say? Yeah. But that's all part of the process, and that's how you get better. Is like the willingness to confront that, And what I started to notice, even just the act of organizing it and like structuring your mind and like to work through and like a speech just in some way, like just an argument, just like making, telling the story, just organizing that just like was good for my mind. It gave me some sort of structure, like not having a job and not having that daily routine. This gave me something to focus on and to create and to produce, and just doing that gave me this like this clear-headed happiness. Like my base level of joy was just higher. Things were easier. Conversation, I wasn't as nervous to talk with people, Things were just like overall generally better. Like, I didn't even want to smoke at that time. So I didn't even want to smoke tobacco. It didn't interest me. Like, I knew it wasn't something I wanted to do. But at that point in time, it was easy to let go of because I had something genuinely interesting and meaningful for me to try to pursue. As long as I knew my why. As long as I knew why I was doing it, it seemed like I could do it. And it was nice. I kind of feel like the pendulum swing back from like being so low at the last episode I was talking about, being so low kind of down at Padre Island, it kind of swinging back to the opposite end and feeling like the joy that comes along with order and taking on responsibility. So just something interesting, to notice, I thought. And it's still something I need to keep in mind daily. Even like, it takes forever for me to record one of these episodes and put something out because it's the same sort of struggles you deal with. Like, what's the point of any of those? Like, why does it matter? Like, nobody really cares. Just wasting your time and embarrassing yourself. But that's not the goal. My goal is to get better at expressing my ideas and who I am. So, like, that's what I'm trying to keep in mind. And you never know what can happen. You never know where this could end up. For good or bad. Who knows? But I want to do it. We'll see where it all goes. And I'd rather not regret not doing it. I spent probably, 2 or 3 weeks in total in Port Lavaca there. And then I moved over. I had like another week or so to kill before one of my buddies was getting married in Austin, so I was going to head that direction. But the next week I just mostly hung out in Sam Houston National Forest just north of Houston, obviously. Um, just camping out there. The roads were even compact enough where you could longboard through the forest, which was kind of a new experience. I went into Houston a little bit, but it just, Houston's just another city that you're driving through, and you're passing through so many cities. It's just another, cramped city with the same sort of businesses. And you see billboards with, and then the newest McDonald's deal, and then the next billboard is liposuction, and then the next one is life insurance, and it's just a city, it kind of has that energy to it. So, but I did, there was some nice, I'm a fan of graffiti and street art and that kind of stuff, so they have some good spots down there. I went and checked out in Houston. Other than that, there was a nice small town around there called Tomball, Texas, that I could see that kind of reminded me of home. It had a vibe of just where it'd be good to raise a family. It had just a good, safe community feel to it, I thought. They also had a drive-in theater, which was nice. I went to that probably 3 or 4 times and watched a couple double features. And it's nice bringing your van to the drive-in. You have your fridge, you have your whole setup, everything you need right there, and a comfortable spot to kick back. There's a nice coffee shop in town I really liked, where they had a couple different car shows randomly, which is a nice, enjoyable day. Go out and get some coffee, do a little riding, and take a look at some cars. And the last thing they had in this town was Pizza Planet, or a Planet Fitness. I call it Pizza Planet because it's the gym that gives out pizza, and to me that's just wild. I got to rant a little bit on Pizza Planet because this place, it's a love-hate with this place, because when you're traveling, it's nice to be able to go to a city and that a place that you can go and get a shower, get a workout, get a shower, and it's a pretty consistent place. So when I was here in Texas, I signed up for my $10 membership or whatever, and stayed there, used that, and then as I continued on through Texas, I stopped at a few other ones along the way, and then when I finally got down to Florida with it, they told me that you had to bump up to the higher membership, because you're only allowed to really use it for $10 price at that home gym. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't really want to pay that much money, so I'm going to cancel it. And they're like, well, in order to cancel it, you have to cancel it at the one that you signed up at. Like, well, I'm in Florida now. I'm not going to drive back to Texas. That's not going to happen. So they're like, well, in order to do this, you're going to have to go to the post office and get a notarized letter from this person and ship there and send that over. I'm like, oh my gosh. It just became a whole process to deal with Pizza Planet. So it's supposed to be a judgment-free zone, and they got a lunk alarm on the wall. I'm not really a fan of this place. But at the end of the day, it's a gym. So if people are going there to work out, good for you. I can't hate on that too much, but not the gym of my choice, Other than that, I spent another week or 2 in Texas, and that's what I'm going to end this next episode. It's going to be my last little bit of time in Texas. I got hit with that ice storm that came through Austin a couple years ago. It was the weekend of my buddy's wedding, and a few other nice campsites and cities I stopped at along the way. But that's going to be the next episode. I'll be finishing up Texas. So other than that, I just appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.
Welcome to the Adventures of me. My name is This is the podcast Let's go. That one was pretty good, I think. That one was better. That one wasn't bad.
All right.